Hi, my name is Paul Malcolm. I'm an associate professor at the Johnson Wales campus in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing and how we're doing it. So what we've done is we've made a video for you, viewers of ProStart and participants in the ProStart, to give you a different idea or a different take or a different look on how to fabricate the chicken competitively for the ProStart competition. So some helpful pointers about the video. Make sure that when you're watching the video, you watch the video from beginning to end for the first time, and then go back and look at all the specifics of what's going on. I'm going to show you how to cut the chicken from start to finish that pertains directly to the competition, and then afterwards I'm going to give you some great pointers on how to be successful with some of the more intricate cuts. All right, let's get started. All right, so to fabricate the chicken for the ProStart competition, one of the things that you really need to focus on is your station setup. And I'm going to walk you through a good idea of how to set up your station, how to keep it nice and clean throughout the competition. One of the biggest things is you want to make sure that you wash it off. And when you bring it over, you don't want that chicken juice going all over your workspace. So you want to make sure that you have a little container of paper towels that are individually pulled so that you can just pull out, and then a trash receptacle as close as possible so that you're not strewing that stuff across your workstation. Set it onto a paper towel. Make sure you dry off the bottom, and then any paper towels that you have, don't worry about having to take them anywhere because you have your trash receptacle right there. It's going to be a lot easier to cut the drier you get it, and paper towels work best. If you're using a side towel, it's just going to get all nasty and not be very clean. So once that is, and you can see how it's getting sticky, that's going to make it a lot easier to handle. To begin with, you want to make sure that you have a station that's set up to receive all the product. You'll also generally bring your chicken over on ice, and the best way to carry it over is to have a bag of ice in a hotel pan that's sealed. Make sure you burp out the excess air, and then have another, just a good safety precaution is, have another bag of ice that you can put on top. So now it's completely encased in ice. That ice is wrapped in plastic wrap. It's going to be much more sanitary. When you're done, you can just throw those bags away and dump the ice out. Same thing here. I'm going to fabricate from my cutting board onto these bags that are packed with ice, and then I have bags on the side that I can put on top. These are easily removed. Once the judges come over to inspect your station, you can pull those off, set them on the side, and show the judges what you're doing. So to fabricate, we're going to take the chicken, we're going to pop it onto our cutting board, and we're going to put the head side, where the head would be, towards your dominant hand. So I'm right-handed, I'm going to put that head towards my right hand. I'm going to lift up the skin here. When we're fabricating this chicken, we're going to fabricate 2 Statler breasts, and the Statler breasts are the key points that we're taking off. They're also the most expensive piece that you're taking off the chicken, so you want to do as much as possible to preserve the integrity of those throughout the fabrication process. You want to make sure that you leave the skin on, because as we cook it, the skin's going to shrink up. So that's why we're going to kind of great precautions to pull the skin back so that we're not damaging it in the fabrication process. When you pull it up, you can see that there's a wishbone right here, and that's what we're going to take out. And the wishbone is shaped just like these fingers here. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to scrape that like this, so scrape that down. Pull all this slimy material out, and what I'm doing is I'm scraping it so that I can see that bone, and once I see that bone and I've removed the connective tissue from it, now I can get in behind it and just put my thumb behind it and see it a lot more clearly. Here I can do the same thing, so I'm going to scrape that down, and this is where I'm scraping. This is my bone right here, so I scrape against that bone all the way down so that I can see it, then I take my thumb, put it behind that bone, and pop it out. And now I can see the wishbone all the way around. Now I'm going to come in at the bottom. At the bottom of the wishbone, there's 2 pieces that are sticking down here. So I'm going to come right at the bottom of those and cut towards the neck. So I come in behind the bone, and I cut towards the neck. So in towards the neck. If I get a little extra piece on there, I'm going to take that fat off, and that's going to go to my fat pile so that my bone comes out nice and clean. At the top of the wishbone, so now I have these sides free, at the top of the wishbone there's a blade piece that changes directions. I'm going to take that bone and hold on to the bottom pieces, and then come in with my thumbnail and scrape the bottom of that bone to remove. What I'm scraping is this is the piece I'm going after right here. And this silver skin is connected into that. So once I scrape that away, I'm going to scrape on the bottom, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the top. So I scrape here on the top, and now I should be able to roll it out without it breaking and take it out complete. Okay? And that goes in my bone pile. Whenever you're fabricating, you want to make sure that you're putting it very systematically into this icy area. Have an area for your bones, an area for your leg quarters, so that everything is broken down. If it's just a big pile, when the judges come over, it's going to be difficult for them to inspect, and they're going to have to move things around. So we want to keep it as easy and convenient, and you're showing off that you're organized and your utilization skills as well. Also, wipe your table as you go as much as possible, so your station is always clean. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to flip it on its side, and now we're going to go after the wings. So we're going to go after the humerus. This is the drumette in the wing. So we're going to flip it up. I'm going to cut about midway through. So this is my full humerus. I'm going to cut about halfway. So I come in right above where the muscle of the humerus is, and I cut around this way. Do a ring cut all the way around that humerus. Then I'm going to hold onto it kind of like I'm shaking its hand. I'm going to scrape up to the joint. And once I scrape up to the joint, I should be able to pop it, and it will come out. So the cartilage comes off the top of that bone, and that wing comes off to the side. So we want it to come out nice and clean, so there's no cartilage and no meat on it. And this is French. So this is the bottom of the drumette. This is the muscular part of the humerus that goes into the breast here, and that's what makes up a Statler. Now we're going to flip it over and do the same thing here. So when I flip it, what I'm looking for is, this is the muscular part. It comes to a kind of a triangle at the top. This is the muscular part. I'm going to go right above where that muscular part is and do a ring cut all the way around the humerus. And then I kind of hold onto it like I'm shaking its hand again and scrape up to the joint. And then once I get up as high as I can't go any further, that's when I should be able to pop it off. Okay? Once I get those wings off, I'm going to come back to the wings. I'm going to disarticulate. So I'm going to take the wing tip off from the flat. So I bend it, and the more I bend it, the more I can see right where that joint is, and cut right at the joint. That's going to go into our bone pile. Goes there. Same thing here. Move the tip, cut at the joint, wing tip to your bone pile, flat to the flats. Okay? Clean up your station as you're going, and also keep your knife clean. Keep your handle clean so that it's not going to slip in your hand as well. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove the legs. So we're going to flip it over this way so that the legs are now facing us. So when I open up the legs, sometimes you'll see a big deposit of fat here. We're going to take that fat out. That fat is called abdominal cavity fat. And we're going to use that for making cracklins or schmaltz. So that goes into our fat pile. So a little extra fat there. Okay. Now, what we want to do is massage the legs away from the breast. So we move them away from the breast. The whole reason for that is we want to leave as much skin on the breast as possible. The breast is going to be split right here, and if we cut it up high, we're not going to have enough skin to cover the breast once we cook it. So we pull the skin away using our ring and index finger. Pull that over here. Do the same thing on this side. Okay, and then once we can see the muscle on the inside, we want to flip it over, and we want to notice these parts right here. This is called the oyster. So when I pull it back, I can see those more dominantly. I'm going to take my fingers, put it right underneath the oyster, which is right at the end of the femur. And now I'm going to fold that leg backwards. I'm taking it and lifting it back this way. And lifting it back that way, now I can pull that femoral head out of the ball and socket joint. I do that on this side, and then I flip it over and do the same thing on this side. And that's going to make it easier to remove the oyster. And this is going to be one of the crucial points or crucial things that the judges are looking at to make sure that you fabricated the chicken as efficiently as possible. So you're going to come in, we're going to follow the drum up to the thigh, and we're going to follow that thigh muscle all the way back to the backbone. Once you see the backbone back here, you're going to cut right against the backbone and scoop into the pelvis. This is a bone right here. So scoop right into that bone. And this is my oyster that's starting to come away. So this is my oyster, and I'm coming in right against that bone. And as I cut, that round muscle should roll back. I'm going to cut through the skin here so it's a little easier to see. So this is my oyster, and this is the bone that I'm cutting it off of. All right, so I come against that bone, keep scooping it out. All right, and then once I have that out, now I can see this is my oyster, this little round oyster-looking muscle in the chicken leg. And this is the bone that I just took it off of. That's the pelvis, the H-bone. So now I'm going to come in against the backbone. I'm going to come over the ball and socket. This is the ball of the femur, and that's the socket of the pelvis. Up over the top of that, and then I'm going to ride down the backbone and take that leg off. So now that's off and clean. This is my thigh, this is my drum, and that's my oyster. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. The beauty of most animals is they're anatomically correct. So you're going to have the mirror image on the other side. So I know where this bone is. This is the H-bone or the pelvis. So once I get to this point, I can cut through the skin because I know my oyster is right here. It's peeking out underneath the skin. I can fold that back. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come in right at the top of that bone. Here's the top on this side. I come in right at the top here and scoop that out. And that's my oyster, and that's the pelvis. I'm going to come in the back here, up over, that's the ball and socket joint, and ride that down the backbone, and take that off. Okay, so the next thing, once we have the legs removed from the carcass, we want to make sure that we got our oyster intact, and we're going to remove this femur. So we're going to separate the drum from the thigh, then take the femur out. So the way that we do that is to hold on to the femur and bend the joint so you can find right where the joint is, cut straight through the joint, and then take your drum and go ahead and put that on your ice. You're going to turn this to the side so the femur is basically directly in front of you, and you're going to use your index finger and thumb and pull that meat away. Use your knife in a butcher's hold, come right against that bone, and just keep working that. Turn it this way, come on top of the bone, and just keep moving it until you get that bone out. So once you get the bone exposed on both sides, then you can come in underneath the bone, reposition your handle, and come in right underneath the bone, and we're just going to cut as close to that bone as possible. Once you get that backside done, lift it up and do this side. So now what I'm doing is I'm cutting all the way around that femur because I want to take as little meat off. I just want to take the bone out. Okay? You want to come back and make sure there's no bony matter. Everything's nice and clean. What I left is my patella, so I'm going to come back and take that patella out. And that's the kneecap. So this is that. This is a big chunk of bone that you want to make sure that you get out. Okay? And that'll go with your bone pile there. And this is what you want. So there's my oyster. Here's my boneless thigh. I'm going to take that. I'm going to roll it up and stick it right on the ice for display. Okay, so let's do the second one. So what we're going to do is hold on to the drumstick, hold on to the femur, and move the drumstick so you can find the joint. Get that position so you can slide right through at that joint. And then once you get that leg cut off, we're going to take that drumstick and put it on the side. We're going to take this, position it so the femur is directly in front of you. You're going to hold your knife in a butcher's hold, take your thumb and index finger and pull the muscle away from the femur and come right against the femur, and so that you can see one side of it all the way down. And now I'm just going to keep doing that. Now I'm going to turn it so I can come on the other side. And I just want to outline that bone so that I can see it completely. Okay, and then once I can see both sides of the bone, now I'm going to come in with my knife underneath. I'm going to come in nice and close to the bone, angling my blade to the bone. Come in underneath. And I'm going to come down this side as well and leave as much of that meat on the thigh as possible. Come back, feel if I have any bone. So this is my patella right here. So this is the patella. You can feel it. There's a big chunk of bone there. So you can also come in underneath it this way and come up and around so that you cut the patella out. So now I can just take my patella out with as little of that meat as possible. And that's what your patella looks like. Big, thick, bony piece. Okay? When you have that out, we'll open it up. Make sure that we don't have any more bony pieces. Make sure that our oyster is still intact. Roll it up for display. And that goes over in our display on the ice. The next thing that I want to do is take the fat off of the back, because again, when I'm showing the judges what I'm doing, I want the bones to be as clean as possible. I don't want any excess fat in my bone pile, because that excess fat is going to cloud my stock. So I'm going to hold it while the breasts are down. I'm going to come in right behind the neck, take that back fat off all the way down the backbone. All right, put that in your fat pile. Flip it over. If you have any abdominal cavity fat, you pull that out. Pull the Pope's nose off. Then you're going to take the skin on the breast and pull it over the carcass so that it's nice and even, kind of like spreading your blanket on your bed so that it's even on both sides. And as I pull that skin tight, you can see right where that keel bone is. So you can see when I move the skin, you can see the keel bone underneath. Okay? And that's the part we want to make an incision through the skin so that we can expose that bone better. So I pull it. I'm going to come in right here, and I use my index finger and thumb to pull that skin tighter so it's easier to cut. Cut down. So I've started it this way, and I'm going to spin it around. And so now you can see the keel that was underneath the skin. Now by making that incision, now I can see it more clearly. So I make a cut here and just follow that skin down and out. Cool. So now there's my keel bone. So now I know where to make my cut. So the bottom part where I'm going to cut is, I'm going to look for the bottom lobes of the breast. I'm going to insert from the bottom lobes of the breast and come up right against that keel bone and cut down to the rib cage. So cut through the bottom lobes, right against the keel bone. And I make nice slow strokes so that I'm not cutting, I know I'm cutting in the right spot. And I run my fingers down. So when I make a cut like this, I'll run my fingers, which pulls the meat back away. It makes it easier to see where I'm going. And pull that back. Okay, just keep pulling that back. Now I'm holding onto my knife like an extension of my index finger. And I just follow that down, doing little strokes. Keep going against that carcass. Use gravity. Let gravity pull that away. I'm going to look for the second joint. So this is the first joint. I can tell because it moves and there's cartilage surrounding that joint. Now I'm going to find the tender. This is the tender right here. And the reason I want to find the tender is because there's a tendon in the tender. And this is the tendon right here that I'm looking for. Once I find that tendon, I can sever the tendon. And underneath that tendon is where I'm going to find my next joint. So that I sever the tendon and that tender pulls away. And then I can see the tendon that is the joint right here. And I cut right through that. What I'm doing is I'm coming down this way. I'm going to completely roll my knife back around this way. So I come in through the joint and I cut back against the carcass and lift that breast up and away so that it comes off nice and clean. Okay, and we'll come back. We'll set that off to the side. We'll come back to that in a second. Now I'm going to turn it to the side like this, and now I can see my keel bone, and I know that there's a chunk of meat right here. And that chunk of meat is about as thick as your finger. So you want to pull that chunk of meat out so that you extend your yield on that second breast. So you're going to take your thumb, put it right at the bottom of the keel bone, and using just the tip, just about 1/8 of an inch of the tip of your knife, come in right against that keel bone, right at the back, and cut back around. That's the bottom of the keel bone, and then once I have that incision made, I can come back this way. So I follow the keel down, and I'm going to take all this meat off so that that stays on the breast as well. Follow that back. Follow that carcass down and around. So if you get lost, look at this side. You're doing the same thing on this side. So you come in nice and close to that rib cage. Follow that down and around. Follow this. This is your first joint. Come to the second joint. Find the tendon. Sever the tendon. Pull it back. Cut through that joint. Come back around here to take that off nice and clean. Your bones go in your bone pile so there's no fat or extra meat on there. You're going to take your breast at this point, flip it over, stretch your skin over it. It looks a little like it needs to be trimmed right now, so we're just going to flip that over, trim it up. Trim this part up here if you have excess skin. You want to leave a little bit because as you cook it, that skin's going to shrink. So that'll go into the pile there. So when you take the breasts off, this one's kind of a blob right now. So what we're doing is we're taking that breast and we're making it nice and presentable. So we're going to, this is going to be up and that kind of comes to a nice round point. So what we want to do is do the same thing here. So we're going to trim this up right here. And then we'll turn it so that we can see that skin a little bit better. Tuck that in, take the excess fat up here. So now that breast is going to be more presentable. And then that's going to go on our ice there. And then as soon as I'm done cutting, I'm wiping my station and I'm cleaning everything as I go. Judges want to see a clean station throughout the production, and then at the end, if you have any time, you should sanitize it as quickly as possible. Okay, so Upon completion, what you want to do is lay out your chicken on ice to display it for the judges. We laid it out on the cutting board here just so it's a little bit easier to see, and I'm going to just walk you through from this side over to this side and tell you what everything is. So what we have displayed here is our bone. These are the bones or the items that we will use just as our bones. So these are the femurs that came out of the thighs. These are the wingtips. This is the wishbone, and this is the carcass. So I have everything laid out, and I'm utilizing the space on my ice so that the judges can easily come by and display it. If you're displaying like this, you're not hiding anything. It's going to be very clear to the judges that you did a great job. The next thing I have, and this is a little different, so we've taken these wings off of the tips here, and you're going to express to the judges that we can use this for future use. These can be used just as chicken wings. When we go to here, this is the Statler breast, or the boneless breast with the first knuckle of the wing still attached. We want to make sure that we left enough skin so that when we cook it, we are considering that skin shrinking so that we left excess skin on so that it's ready for a pan sear. We also left the tenders in those, and the tenders are nice and clean, and we make sure that they are displayed in that fashion like that. Then we go over here. These are the thighs. What we've done is we've taken the femur out of the thighs, so we still are displaying our oyster, and we've just taken all of the bone out, and we've made sure that we've gotten that little patella out as well. Still roll it up so it's nice and clean looking. Here, the same thing. So make sure that you have that femur out, your oyster still attached, and that boneless thigh is rolled up and nicely presented. Down here you have your drums. We've taken the drums and we've rolled them up, made sure that you're displaying that so that it's a nice clean piece of cartilage and you're not displaying any bone fragmentation. If we show that there's bones, that's going to show that we cut in the wrong place. When we show that we have displayed the cartilage, and that means we've cut right through the joint in the perfect place. Here, we're displaying the fat, and we're displaying and explaining the fat that we can use as a future use as well. We can take this fat, we can render it for making cracklins, and we can also render it and make schmaltz that we can use as well. The main thing is be confident. When we go to that competition, we want to see you be successful. We're just as excited to be there as you are, and we want you to be successful. So have a great time at the competition, have a great time fabricating the chicken and working with your team, and come and show us what you got. Okay, so now to do that Statler again, when you move that skin, you can really see where that keel bone is, and what we're looking at is, this is the keel bone in comparison. So when I move that skin, what I'm doing is I'm moving it over the top of this bone. And the whole reason that I'm doing that is because this is where the bottom lobes of the breast are, right? So if you can see this when you're cutting the chicken, it's going to make it much easier to cut the chicken more efficiently. Okay, so always see this in your mind. It's good while you're practicing to have that carcass set aside, and if you're doing it in a group, everyone can refer to that bone so that you know what you're cutting. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make an incision on top of the keel bone just to get through the skin. So I make an incision through that skin, right? And now I'm going to turn it around. So I'll turn the carcass so it matches. So we turn here, now we're going to connect the dots. All right, so now I can see my keel bone. This is my keel bone. This is the keel bone here. Okay, and now I'm going to cut from in between the lobes of the breast here, up against that keel bone and out. So I come in here like this. I come right against the keel bone. And you want to make nice fluid cuts. Don't make herky-jerky cuts because it'll make your meat all jagged. Okay, so now I'm running my finger down against that, and now I'm going to position it so that I can come down and follow that down and around. So now I'm going to come down against that bone. Right, so now I have it like this, and I'm coming down around here. And I'm going to come to that second joint. So this is the first joint I keep talking about. And that second joint is a weird angle. So I'm actually coming this way, cutting through the joint and coming back around to that scapula and out. So come here, look for the tendon. Once you find the tendon, then you're going to find the tender and find the tendon in the tender. It's a lot of T's and enders. Come in here, look for that tendon, cut through the tendon, and now you can start to see the joint. So this is the bone we're working on. So I'm going to come right to the end of that bone and down. So I come here, cut through the joint, and cut back around. Right? And so I lift it up. And so when we're done, now they should look the same. Right? So I came down the keel, over the rib cage to the second joint, cut through that second joint, stayed right close to the bone, come down and follow that off. So that statler comes off in one nice piece. Okay? We're going to talk about that in a second. So now we're going to work on the hook cut. So the hook cut is this. So I put my thumb at the base of the keel bone right here. So on this, it's kind of hard to say. When I say put my thumb at the end of the keel bone, you can't really see it. On this carcass, you can see it much more clearly. What I'm doing is I'm taking the breast that's on this side off, and I want to take that extra meat that's right here off with that breast. So I place my thumb right at the base of that keel bone, and I'm going to trace around my thumb. So I put it here, and I trace around my thumb. And when I say you don't need to go very deep, that's all the deeper that you need to go. You can see the width of that keel bone. That's only the depth that you need to insert your knife to. Okay? So now, push it here, come right at the end of that keel bone, come right around your thumb, come around this way, and now you're going to come around the other side of the keel bone to take that meat off here. Right? So what I did, I came around it like this, and then I came here around that way so that I take the breast off that way. Okay, so I come here and follow that down and around. Okay, and now it seems awkward because I can't really see where I'm going. So now I'm going to spin it like this, so now I can see what I'm cutting. So now I can see the carcass that I'm cutting down against. Okay, so I'm coming right down like this, and I'm going to follow it down this way. Come right up against the keel bone here. And just keep following that down until you get to the joint. Okay, so you can see now this is the carcass here. My keel bone's up straight. I'm going to come to that second joint, find the tendon in the tender, cut through the joint that is the cartilage there, and come back against the carcass and take that off. Now once I have that off, now that's my bones, so good to go there. Now my statler's off and I clean that up, we're good to go. Okay, so for the statler, what you want to look for in the statler is you want to make sure that the skin is nice and hangs over, and you want to make sure that it's nice and uniform, and you want to make sure that the bone is whole, like this. You don't want the bone to be broken like this. If you get a chicken that has a broken bone, and we can tell that this has been broken because it's a clean break, if you tried to smash it or cut it with your knife, it would actually just kind of mangle the bone, and you see a lot of little broken bone shards in the area. If you see this, when you grab your chickens, you need to alert a judge as quickly as possible so that we can get you another chicken so that when you fabricate your statler, it can look just like this one. So we're taking this out of here. So the first thing we want to do is pull that skin back. Okay, and then you're going to hold onto the breast like this, so it's a little easier to hold onto. Come in and scrape down all the way around. Okay, so you can kind of see it starting to look like that. You can see this part right here, which is this part right here. I'm going to come in with my fingers on the side right behind that bone on both sides. And I want to get as much of that without having to use my knife, because then when I get it with my knife, I'm going to get all the extra silver skin out. So again, that's what we're taking out. Come in here, right behind that, and cut down to the neck. So this is the part I just cut off. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So come right behind that. Okay. So now I got this part, the bottom part, freed up, and now I'm going to go to the top, and that's where it gets funky, this piece right here. So I lift it up, and I'm going to take my thumb, and I'm going to come right against that bone. So what I'm doing is, as it's coming up here, I'm taking my thumb, and I'm going right against that with my thumbnail. So right against that with my thumbnail, and I'm lifting it up at the same time. So I come in here, roll that up, and you can see it start to lift out, and then it should just roll back. And you should be able to pull up like that, and you take it out. All right, when you go to get your oyster, the common mistake is taking one leg off at a time. So it's crucial that you take both off and pop them both out of socket. But if you don't, what's going to happen is you can't get in close to that, and you're going to come in and you're going to go right across the top. So I've cut my oyster off. So when I take this off, I'm going to take that leg off, and I can see right now, I know as a judge, there's something missing here. There's a void. So when I look at this thigh for comparison, this is the part I've cut off. That's my oyster. So you can see if we position in the same way, this is where my oyster should be, and that's where the oyster is. And this is where the oyster actually is on the carcass. Now, you can come back and you can cut it. More often than not, the judge is going to see you, but what the judge is going to do during the competition is they will come back, and you might smuggle this into the carcass for later so no one sees it. But what the judge is going to do is they're going to take your thigh that you have rolled up and it's displayed on your ice, and we're going to open it up and we're going to notice that's your oyster, right? And if we take this one, say that we had this thigh fabricated, and we open this up for comparison, you can see this is where the oyster is, and this is where the oyster is not. What you really want to focus on is being confident and being very excited. We know that when you get to a competition as a judge, you've spent a lot of time and energy getting to that competition, and we want you to show us those skills. And we'll know that you're showing those skills well when you're smiling and having a good time. In terms of sanitation, you need not wear gloves when you're fabricating the chicken because it's going to be something that's going to be cooked later on, and actually wearing the gloves will be a great distraction for you when you're cutting the chicken. So we highly recommend and ask you not to wear gloves. If you do have a cut on your finger, you are welcome to put a Band-Aid on it and cover it with a finger cot, and your coaches should provide that for you. Another thing to think about is when you're working on your station, only have one knife out for the task at hand. You don't need to have an arsenal of knives out. That's generally how you get hurt, and having all those knives out is generally when you're going to lose one of those knives as well. Other tools that are very helpful, really the only thing that I would suggest is the plastic bowl scraper. The bowl scraper becomes very handy at cleaning your board off. It helps to kind of get the fat off that won't come off with your towel. I generally, in the videos that you'll watch, I have 2 towels that are in my sanitation solution. I also have sanitation solution, but it's down on the floor and it's in a hotel pan so that it's not spilling on the floor and it meets the health code violations because it's not sitting directly on the floor. Other things that are really helpful is having a container, like a quart container or something like that, and having your paper towels pulled out and individualized, because that way you can go and use them. You only need 3 or 4 paper towels, but having more, if you have more, you won't need them. If you don't have any more, you'll definitely wish that you did have them. Also, having a trash receptacle is very handy. Anytime you have a receptacle on your station that isn't perfectly clear what it's for with the judges, it's a good idea to label it. I would always just label this trash. I would label this ice for chicken so that everyone knows. It also shows organization, and in terms of when you're packing and going to that competition, it makes it a lot easier to understand what all of the things are and how they're getting and going where they're going.